Tonight, when you wake from a dream, don't try to remember what happened. Remember how it felt, because that feeling might be the only part that was real. I know that sounds strange. Hold it loosely for now, because by the end of this, you won't need me to convince you. You'll have already recognized it. In something you lived, in something you felt, in a dream you still can't explain. Edgar Cayce, the most documented psychic in modern history, said something that most people walk right past. He said that in dreams we are more awake than we are right now, that this, what we call waking life, is the dream, and that when you close your eyes at night, something in you finally opens. What if he was right? Here's an assumption you've been carrying your whole life without questioning it, that a dream is something that happens to you, that you are a passive audience in the theater of your own sleep, that your unconscious mind simply shuffles memories like a deck of cards, your mother's face, your childhood home, a stranger from last Tuesday, and deals them out into a story that means nothing. This is the modern consensus, and it may only be part of the picture. Here's what's interesting. Even within mainstream science, this explanation has always had a gap. Carl Jung, not a mystic, a psychiatrist, spent decades documenting something he called the collective unconscious, a layer of mind that doesn't belong to the individual, a shared field of symbols, archetypes, and information that every human being appears to access in sleep. Then there's REM research. Sleep scientists have shown that during certain dream states, the brain is more active than during focused waking thought, more integrated, more interconnected across its own regions. And yet, what we dream remains largely unpredictable, deeply personal, and in many cases inexplicably accurate about things we couldn't have consciously known. So even within the scientific framework, something remains unexplained. What if that gap, that persistent, uncomfortable gap, is where the real story lives? Let's go deeper, because even within Cayce's framework there are layers. The first layer is the one psychology has partially mapped. When someone appears in your dream, they often represent an aspect of yourself. The ex-partner who won't leave, the parent who keeps showing up uninvited, the friend you haven't thought of in years. On this level, your dreaming mind uses faces as symbols. The angry man chasing you is your own suppressed rage. The woman who judges you in silence is your own inner critic wearing a familiar mask. This is real, this is happening. But Cayce said something that psychology alone cannot hold. He said that some appearances are not symbolic, they are literal. When someone who has died comes to you in a dream, clearly, calmly, with presence and purpose, Cayce insisted this is not grief playing tricks on you. This is contact. The soul of that person, navigating the same frequency your sleeping consciousness now occupies, reaching through. He documented case after case. A mother who came to her son 3 nights after her death, not weeping, not dramatic, just standing in a light that felt like mourning, telling him not to mourn. A husband who appeared to his wife to reveal where he'd hidden an important document. Details confirmed afterward, facts verified. I'm not asking you to believe this. I'm asking you to test it. There was a woman, one of Cayce's most carefully documented cases, who dreamed of her father 2 weeks after his death. He appeared in her childhood kitchen, sitting at the table the way he always sat, leaning slightly left, hands around a cup of coffee he never actually drank. And he said only one thing. "Tell your sister I forgive her." The woman had no idea what this meant. She and her sister barely spoke, but she called her the next morning and repeated the words exactly. What happened on the other end of that call was not confusion. It was the sound of a grown woman collapsing into 20 years of grief she had carried alone, over something she'd never told anyone. A mistake, a falling out, an apology she believed was impossible now that her father was gone. Now ask yourself, does it matter whether that was real contact or a message from her own unconscious? Because either way, the knowing was already there. Either way, the soul had the information. Cayce would say, the distinction you're trying to make doesn't exist the way you think it does. Think back. Not to last night, but to the dream that stayed. You know the one you woke from and couldn't shake, the one where someone came, and the feeling in that dream room was so thick, so specific, that even now, years later, you can almost taste it. Here's what Cayce understood that most people miss. The feeling is the data point, not the narrative, not the plot, not who said what to whom. The emotional residue, what you carry into waking, is more accurate than anything the story contained. Because the ego can distort images. It can scramble timelines and invent explanations, but it cannot fully falsify the sensation of genuine contact. If you felt peace, real, unearned, unreasonable peace, when someone appeared, that is a transmission. If you felt dread even around someone you love, that too is data. It may mean you are being shown a pattern before it manifests in waking life. Cayce called this prophetic dreaming, and he said, "It is not a gift reserved for mystics. It is the natural capacity of every soul. You've always been capable of it. You've simply been trained to dismiss it before breakfast." But there is something even stranger underneath all of this. Something Cayce hinted at that most people walk right past. He said that in certain dream states, you are not the only one receiving the dream. That some encounters, the ones charged with unusual clarity, the ones that feel more real than real, are occurring simultaneously. That the person who appeared to you last night may have experienced something too, on their end, in their sleep. Two souls, one meeting, each in their own bed, in their own city, perhaps in different countries, and yet the same moment, the same words, the same quality of light. He documented cases where two people, without prior communication, reported the same encounter. Now ask yourself, why does that idea feel familiar? Not strange. Familiar, like something you almost remembered. Like a truth your body recognized before your mind could reject it. We think of sleep as disappearance. We say goodnight and what we mean is, "I'm going away. I'll return in the morning." But what if it's the opposite? What if sleep is the return? What if every night you stop being the small, bounded, anxious self who wears your name and dissolve back into the larger life you actually are? The soul that chose this body, this family, this particular century with all its noise and speed and forgetting. And in that larger life, the distances collapse. Your grandmother gone 40 years, the friend you lost too young, the stranger whose face you keep seeing and cannot explain. They are not far. They are not gone. They exist on a frequency your waking mind cannot tune to, but your sleeping mind remembers. Cayce believed death changes the channel, not the signal. Here is the truth that reframes everything. You have never actually been alone in a dream. Every person who has ever come to you in that state, family, stranger, enemy, beloved, was a conscious participant in a meeting your soul arranged. Some are aspects of you, yes, but even those projections carry the intelligence of something larger than your personal history. Your unconscious is not a basement full of broken furniture. It is a corridor, and that corridor connects you to the people you love, to the people you've lost, to versions of yourself that live in other lifetimes, to the field of awareness that Cayce called the Akashic record. The dream is not a symptom of your psychology. The dream is a door, and you've been walking through it every night for your entire life, without knowing that's what you were doing. So what do you actually do with this? Not theory, practice. Starting tomorrow morning for 30 days, not 29, not when you remember. 30 consecutive mornings, do this one thing. Keep something to write on beside your bed, not your phone. Something analog, something slow, paper and a pen. And in the first 30 seconds of waking, before the day claims you, before your mind reconstructs its armor, write down only two things. Who was there? How did it feel? Not what happened, not the plot. Who was there? How did it feel? After 30 days, read back what you wrote. You will find patterns that have nothing to do with random neurology. You will recognize recurring presences. You will begin to understand what your soul has been saying every night while your ego was offline. The second practice is simpler and stranger. When someone appears in your dream, especially someone who has died, don't analyze them. Talk to them, not in the dream necessarily, in the morning, out loud or in writing. Say what you would have said. Ask what you needed to ask. Cayce believed the channel doesn't fully close when you wake, that the conversation once opened continues in the spaces between your thoughts, in the knowing that arrives when you weren't looking for it. Try it. What do you have to lose? Tonight, when you close your eyes, pay attention, because someone might be waiting for you. Not as a ghost, not as a memory your brain is processing, but as a soul that loves you, navigating a different layer of the same reality, reaching across whatever separates waking from sleeping, living from gone, known from forgotten. The person who came to you in your dream came for a reason. Because at the level where souls actually live, there are no accidents. and there is no such thing as too late. If something in this is stirring something in you, if you feel the edges of a bigger understanding beginning to open, stay close. Because what we're building here together is a map, not of places, of layers. The hidden layers of who you are, where you've been, and what or who is still trying to reach you. The journey continues, and tonight it might continue while you sleep.